Hey y'all, hi. It's time for another episode of New Makeup Hot Takes, and for me, this is the video that's kicking off the new year. This is my first time filming since taking a little bit of a production break for the holidays. You might have noticed there was like a week-long gap in videos. If all has gone as planned, we should have posted the Lisa Eldridge eyeshadow review on Wednesday. That would be the first video on the channel for the new year, and that was the last video that I filmed in 2022. And now I'm back to let you have it. I wanted to start with New Makeup Hot Takes because it's a video that we can turn around quickly. We don't want to let it sit in the editing phase for too long because, you know, it's fresh news, and if you wait too long, it can become irrelevant. But I was like, I feel like I just filmed this. Probably nothing new has released. Everyone's been taking a break over the course of the new year, but of course that's not true. It was just me. I checked Trend Mood, and it's like full of interesting things, bursting with new makeup on which I am prepared to give hot take after hot take. And, you know, as it has been the case many times, every time, these are hot takes. I really am giving like my first reaction. And as is always the case, I am really looking for a reason not to buy these things. If you're new here, that's often the MO over here on my channel. I try not to promote overspending. I love beauty passionately. This is a beauty channel, but I think you can love beauty without overspending on it and without having way too much stuff. Even more so this time though, because I viciously decluttered my entire makeup collection down to an extremely tight edit at the end of 2022. And I'm currently feeling bulletproof against new launches because I just feel like nothing could be better than what I already have. So that's the spirit with which we're going into 2023. That's the spirit with which we're taking on these new makeup hot takes. If you're new and you like this, I hope you'll subscribe. And now let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. Okay, so I'm looking, oh, I forgot to scoot to the side. Joe, before he left, after he turned on the lights and everything, he was like, don't forget to move to the side. He's really on board. He's on the team. As you can tell, I'm in my soft clothes today. I feel like I'm only about 65% back. I was like, I'll film a video, but I'm not going to put on hard clothes. I did put on a little makeup, some things that I'm currently testing. Already testing makeup for January review, but when it came to the clothes, soft clothes. Okay, so I'm looking at Trend Mood 1, an Instagram account that posts about new makeup releases. And in the top row, going in reverse chronological order, so the newest things first, there is one thing that is begging me to give a hot take about it, and that is this color corrector launch from e.l.f. Is it just my intense interest in color corrector, or are more brands hopping on the color corrector train like over the past 6 months? Maybe it's just my intense interest. Like, it's something that I always notice. In the last new makeup hot takes, Givenchy had announced that they were releasing a new range of concealers, just regular concealers, but augmenting that with some color correcting concealers. And now e.l.f., which I feel like they should have had one, but they didn't, right? I would have tested it if they had had one. So there are a couple of things that interest me about this. One is that there's a green one. I use green color corrector every day, pretty much, when I do my makeup. It really allows me to use way less foundation or concealer, whatever I'm using. And that's always my goal, right? To get a clear complexion with the least amount of makeup possible. So, you know, I'll pick this up at some point. I'll test it. I'll report back. There are actually 3 things that intrigue me. One is that there's a green. 2, it's only $4, which is, I mean, I know that that's e.l.f.'s MO, but if it's good, that'll be wild. It'll be great. And 3, this blue color, that is really intense. It says in the listing, blue visibly offsets orange and yellow tones in the skin. I imagine that that would be great for people who are struggling with, I mean, maybe. I don't know enough about color correcting in different tones and about the different makeup needs of different skin tones to be sure of this, but it seems like maybe a rich blue like that could possibly serve the purpose that sort of a pale green color corrector serves for me, for people with much deeper skin than mine, especially if the concern is more about a redness that like leans orange or causes like a yellow tint to the skin if that's not your natural skin tone. This blue would definitely help to counteract that the way that green helps counteract redness on my very fair skin. I hope that that's what this is, and that this is a sign that e.l.f. has actually tried to diversify their offerings in this little release. I've seen a lot of color corrector launches that include like this deep sort of coral red, which is specifically designed to counteract dark circles on deep skin tones, which is great. I'm glad that brands are doing that, but I don't know. I don't remember ever seeing this deep blue. My hope is that it's another step in that direction. So e.l.f., I'll be following the future career of this product release with great interest. All right, I have a bunch of mixed up feelings about this Makeup Forever lipstick launch. I almost didn't decide to talk about this because it feels a little bit close to the ho-hum line, you know, but it just got me because I love lip products and I feel like these neutral lip products that really are in the neutral realm, or they're designed to help a person create a pretty natural look. I don't know. I'm into that, right? So it sort of got my attention when I was scrolling through. It's the Rouge Artist Velvet Nude Soft Matte Lipstick. It got my attention just because of that, right? Because it's the kind of thing I'm into. And then I was like, all the colors are the same. And it's maybe just because the packaging is a single color, right? They just picked this one mauve for all of the packaging. But the bullets, the lipstick bullets, they're all really close in color, at least according to these pictures, which are probably digital renderings, and that's maybe part of the problem. But in this imagery, they all look like almost the same color as the packaging. So right off the bat, it's like maybe just a little bit of a misstep with this imagery, and it's like Makeup Forever do better. But then when you scroll over and you actually see the colors, yeah, they're different. Like one is a rosewood and one is a taupe and one is a brown and one is a little bit more of a red. And the one called Cozy Taupe and the one called Comfort Brown, both of those really do attract me because they look like kind of milky, mid-toned, if not slightly pale versions of taupe and brown lipstick, which those things can be a little bit hard to find, and I'm always on the lookout for those. So, you know, on a personal level, I'm like, oh, okay, now that I see the swatches, each color is slightly different, and there are a couple that I'm interested in. But the listing says 7 matte shades for every skin tone and undertone. And I'm over here, white as a sheet of paper, being like, the darkest, brownest one is the one that's of interest to me. So is it really 7 shades for every skin tone and undertone? Is it? Maybe there's something I don't know about the way the formula works. Maybe it's semi-sheer and it really is designed to be more universal than one can tell from these swatches, but I don't know. It's a little bit of a do better moment in a couple of ways. MAC caught my eye a little bit with the Lunar New Year release, the Lunar New Year collection. And as always with MAC, I just sort of am appreciating it in an academic way. I'm like, oh, interesting to see what MAC is doing with my monocle. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'll never think of MAC as anything other than a makeup brand that other people buy that I never buy. And I'd like to keep it that way because, as I said in the introduction, I am really looking for a reason not to buy any of these things. So rather than being like, what's the big deal about MAC? I'd like to really get in amongst it and understand what other people see in it. I'm like, no, let's preserve this strange distance between this brand and myself. I'll just keep admiring it from afar. And I feel kind of similarly about the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Glow Glide Face Architect highlighters. Every time she comes out with something, I feel like she's already used that name for something else and also already released the product. I already talked about this recently in a New Makeup Hot Takes about how it's one of those brands that's sort of become a parody of itself, you know? And I think that that works really well for some people and works really well for some brands. It's the basis on which they make their sales. People like know what they're getting. They have this pretty narrow comfort zone and they stay in that zone. But for me, as like a makeup reviewer, a wide-ranging makeup lover, somebody who's paying attention to the entire scope of the market, it's just a brand that's kind of slowly losing its spark for me, you know? And so this is what will happen, right? This product will come out. I'm happy to see that there's a range of shades because this was announced before the new year and there was just one in the image. And I was like, for what you're saying this is, it seems like there should be a range. It turns out there is a range. And I like this, okay? So it says, brighten, lift, and sculpt the look of your skin without creasing, caking, or settling into fine lines for a confidence-boosting glow, darling. It's basically a slightly illuminating powder that you use for the kind of sculpting that's sort of all over the face, the kind of illumination that softens lines rather than potentially enhancing texture. And I just tested a powder that's kind of like this. It's doing what this says that it will do. It's from Chantecaille and it was PR. I tested it in a video at the end of last year. I really liked it. I'm learning more about powders with every passing month and I really liked it. I understand why one might have an interest in this kind of thing. So I appreciate it. I think it's really pretty. I like the star motif. I feel like Charlotte Tilbury makes really high-end makeup. I bet it's a great product. I bet it performs well. And I just personally have no interest in making a purchase, right? And like buying a thing like this. But I do appreciate it. I can easily appreciate it for what it is, again, from afar. Ooh, this is maybe the thing that's the hardest. Although I have a solution. Other than buying it, I mean. But this weirdly is maybe the thing that's pushing my buttons the most. Tom Ford Cherry Smoke. So I have a bit of a history with Tom Ford fragrance. I I've never owned like a bottle of Tom Ford fragrance, but I've owned hefty samples of some of the intriguing like old school Tom Ford fragrances like Oud Wood. Is that what it is? Oud Wood? Yeah. Created some real scent memories attached to that fragrance back in my frivolous youth. And I am kind of into the new fragrances that Tom Ford has been releasing. So Lost Cherry, I smelled like an empty bottle of it in the store one time and it really intrigued me and I had to wait a really long time to get a tiny sample of it. I like it, but it goes very cologne on me. I like androgynous scents or like fluid scents, but it's not even that. I really do smell kind of like a European man when I wear it. It's a bit of a bridge too far for me personally. So I've been around, right? There was a while when I was like, Lost Cherry, it's the unicorn. And then I wore it a little bit and I was like, no, it's not for me, but I have an appreciation for it. Bitter Peach, which is the other one that's been released sort of in this vein pretty recently. Simber gave me the candle. I fell in love with the scent, got a tiny sample of it, wore it as a scent, and now it's like on my lifelong bucket list to have a small bottle of it. I really, really like Bitter Peach and I would love to wear it. And this one, it's just giving me things I didn't know I wanted and things I've always known that I liked. So the thing I didn't know I wanted was another cherry fragrance from Tom Ford, but that's not Lost Cherry, right? So it's like cherry redemption or a possible cherry redemption for me. It's like try again with cherries for Hannah Louise Posted. Maybe she'll like it this time. And the thing that, what is it called? A nose. It wouldn't make sense to just straight out say the thing that a nose can do that will make me the most likely to like a fragrance. But when I say a nose, isn't that what they call people who make perfumes? A perfumer. The thing that a perfumer could do that would make me the most likely to like a fragrance is to put a little bit of smoky, kind of like incensey burning wood smell in it. I'm just a sucker for that. And that's what this says that it is. Cherry smoke plays with fire, bursting with the scent of dark cherry, ignited by seductive osmanthus. I don't know what that is. And smoldering smoked woods in a luxe deep red of the iconic private blend bottle. I'm not going to buy this $390 fragrance, sight unseen, smell unsmelled. And even if I did smell it and it was the greatest scent I'd ever smelled, I still wouldn't buy it. It's too expensive for me. But you know, I just want to smell it. And the thing about perfume is you can smell it without buying it. So I am very much looking forward to smelling cherry smoke in a Nordy's sometime over the next 6 months. And you know, if I love it, I'll just get a little sample of it. And it'll probably end there just the way that it did with Lost Cherry. Quick mention of this really cool product, the Make It Pop Sunglass for Lips by Black Girl Sunscreen. I have heard of like lip balms that are sunscreen or chapsticks that have sunscreen in them before, but I don't think I've ever seen an actual lip gloss that's like a crystal clear gloss that's designed to be applied and worn as a lip gloss that also provides SPF 50 coverage. Pretty cool. I rarely go out into the sun, so I won't be buying it myself. At least these days. I never see the sun. But it's a good reminder, right, that when you are going out into the sun or even a cloudy day going out into the world, your lips can get sunburned too. Protect thy skin. Why did I pick this to talk about? I just picked it in order to say, why is it like this? Talk about becoming a parody of yourself. Here's the thing. I don't feel mixed feelings. I know how I feel. It's just ironic. This is ironic. I'm talking about the NARS Orgasm collection, inspired by their best-selling blush. But have they not done this? Like, I feel like every year, NARS comes out multiple times a year with a product or a collection inspired by their best-selling blush. So this was the time. This was the straw that made the camel laugh. You know what I mean? This was the straw that broke the camel's credulity. I saw this and I was like, is this a joke? Is it April Fool's? You know? All the other ones before this, I was like, okay, I get it. It's your best-selling thing and it always does well. And this time I was just like, who's buying this? It made me think what it always makes me think, which is just that I don't know. We don't know. Like those of us who are really into beauty, who are on beauty YouTube watching beauty videos, we don't know. I think most of NARS's clientele probably isn't here watching beauty YouTube, and they are probably just waiting with bated breath for the next Orgasm collection to be released because they're like, I love that color, you know? That must be the case because otherwise why would they keep doing it? And then the other thing is, and this is the irony, the eyeshadow palette that's part of this collection. I own a NARS palette. It was one of the 5 eyeshadow palettes that I kept in my vicious declutter, and I'm wearing it today. Ever since I decluttered my makeup collection, I've been getting a lot more use out of those 5 palettes that I kept, and I've been wearing that NARS palette and really, really enjoying it. It always pushes the looks a little bit more in like the slightly orange direction than I would myself probably choose, all things being equal, but it goes in this kind of fire orange direction with like a fiery brown grounding base, and I always end up liking it. I never end up feeling like my eyes are unflatteringly orange. I like the way the shadows apply. I like the textures. I like the packaging. I just really like it. So it's hard for me to sit here taking myself seriously, besmirching this collection, especially this eyeshadow palette, which honestly looks like it has 9 eyeshadows in it that are taken straight from my palette, Summer Unrated. Like, I'm literally wearing the brown in the bottom right-hand corner. That's my favorite shade in Summer Unrated, or looks exactly like it. The sort of sparkly peach in the middle, there's a similar shade to that in Summer Unrated that I have on the center of my lids today. So I'm not saying it's ugly and useless and nobody will enjoy it. Clearly, no, I'm not saying that. And you know, Summer Unrated was limited edition, so maybe there are people who really wanted a brown like that and they didn't get it and now they can get it. It's just, could they not have done it in a little bit more of an original way? I guess they couldn't. I guess the answer is no, they couldn't have, because I feel like if they could have, they would have. A quick moment for the absolute serve that is Pat McGrath's Lunar New Year collection. I just love red. I love this red, and I love it in packaging. I love an engraved lipstick. She really did it right. And it's small. You know what I mean? Like, this is a little collectible collection, just a couple of little pieces. Very sweet, versatile, wearable, very much about the packaging, but I feel like given that that's the case, it makes sense what's inside. The quad looks like it has at least one very dynamic shade in it and a really pretty matte. However, am I going to buy this? No, I don't even want any of these things. Again, because I'm feeling very happy with what I currently own. I have great red lipsticks that I love. I have dynamic eyeshadows. I have beautiful mattes, and I don't fancy adding another little thing into my eyeshadow drawer because it's just right as it is. So this is one of those things that I'm looking at and I'm going, yeah, it's really beautiful. Let's have a moment to appreciate how well curated it is, how beautiful it is, how well executed it is. You know, good decisions all around, including my decision not to buy it. I pulled up this Kosas release to discuss. It's like a sneak peek thing. Kosas looks like we're going to see new baked blushes. A clean, silly, smooth powder blush. That's what it says. That's what Trend Mood wrote. A clean, silly, smooth powder blush baked with skincare actives. Really? Like, if they were active before you baked them, don't you think baking them would have deactivated them? A clean, silly, smooth powder blush baked with skincare actives in dimensional color duos. So I think they're saying that because it's like 2 colors swirled together. Moisturizes and balances. And the color that it's showing here, which is called Hype, I hate. It's like really orange. And so that's not the one for me. But the reason I pulled this up is that I like Kosas. I became aware of it in my year-end declutter. I just like a lot of the things I've tried from Kosas this year. I didn't keep absolutely everything in the declutter, but I feel like Kosas made an impact on my year, like a makeup impact. I did a bit of a brand review at some point. It was like one of my self-sponsored reviews, and I just purchased a little collection of Kosas makeup and then did my best to review them all. And the conclusion was it's like a better brand than I thought. Like, the makeup it's better than I thought it was based on the marketing and the packaging. I feel like it's more high-end than it sort of chalks itself up to be or markets itself to be, which might be strategic. They're trying to make you feel like you're not buying something high-end, so they're trying to make you feel like it's accessible and affordable even if the prices are just as high as equally high-end brands. But the main takeaway from that video was like, this is quite good makeup. And I don't have very many powder blushes. How many did I keep in my declutter? 1, 2, maybe 1 and a couple bronzers. I don't wear them all that often. I don't feel like I need more. So I'm not out here chomping at the bit to like buy one of these when it releases. I'm just genuinely following Kosas' future career, right? So So when they release something, I'm like, oh, kosas. I bet it'll be great. Like, that's how I feel about it. So that's why I threw it in this video. Okay, here's a classic case of it kind of makes me want to buy it, but I have a really good reason not to. The Sephora Favorites Perfect Pout Lip Set, which this is the kind of thing that Sephora releases around the holidays, and this was posted like right before the new year. So they're clearly dragging the marketing for this kit through into the new year. Maybe they released it like at the end of December rather than the beginning. This is the kind of thing that really gets people, and that gets me a little bit, or kind of tries to get me, because I love lip products. And this is the Perfect Pout Lip Set. It seems to be built of extremely wearable, like natural lip products, which is what I'm really into right now. So there's a Black Honey, a Clinique Black Honey, the Laneige Lip Treatment Balm, a great product, NARS Laguna, which is like a brown leaning balm treatment product from NARS, a really pretty looking Charlotte Tilbury, again, it's a balm, the Hyaluronic Happy Kiss Lipstick Balm in Pillow Talk. And then there's a lip liner, which is a great companion to all of these, and it's from Rare Beauty, which is a brand that I'm really interested in. I've never tried. Right. So it's like they really knew what they were doing. They put it together to get me to sit up and take notice. But all the products except the Charlotte Tilbury and the Rare Beauty lip liner are minis. And there is nothing that I dislike more in a makeup collection, like kicking around in my drawers, than a mini of a bullet lip product. Just like this tiny little pill-sized piece of cream makeup crammed into a rickety ghost of a bullet, like a twist up bullet. It always just gets rattled, crushed, smeared, can't really be applied effectively. It's like, to me, one step away from just having a smear of the product inside a sample card. And worse, because then you've got this object and it's like fraught. It has baggage attached to it. It's like hard to get rid of because you feel like it's special in some way or you should be using it up, but it's like hard to use and it's just totally ungratifying. You know, I'm over here feeling like life is short. Figure out which lip product you really are going to love and use and just get the full size. I much prefer that to a drawer full of little tiny ineffectual minis that I didn't even choose rattling around. And this is the kind of thing that brings those things into one's life. I would actually rather buy, if I wanted it, which I don't, the Charlotte Tilbury Happy Kiss and Pillow Talk and the Rare Beauty lip liner. I would actually rather buy the two of them full size and pay full price, which would probably add up to more than the $28 that this set costs, and just have those two full-size products. I would rather do that than buy this kit for $28 and have all of those little minis. So I very quickly go with a thing like this from being like, ooh, what a great deal, I want it, to being like, no, 1,000 times no, you can't give it to me for free. I thought it was only fair, since I talked about cherry smoke, to mention that Replica has released a new fragrance. It's called On a Date. It says, inspired by a magical date on a late summer's evening overlooking the magnificent vineyards of Provence at sunset. Florals, warm florals, blackcurrant, rose, patchouli. Probably not for me. I don't like florals in a fragrance, really, quite at all. Patchouli is the only scent in here. I don't mind blackcurrant sometimes. It's interesting. I am looking forward to smelling this because it is something that I could see if it's gone a certain way. If the florals are really downplayed and the warmth and spiciness is really what you're smelling, and if that's how it goes on me, I could even see myself wearing it. But at first glance, when they're talking about a warm floral fragrance that has rose in it, probably not. It's not like I don't like rose as a fragrance. It's just I'd rather smell like a bonfire. Okay, this kind of makes me want to try it. This is rivaling, weirdly, it's like, who am I becoming? But this is rivaling cherry smoke for a place in my heart, in my affections, in my sights, you know? NARS is releasing a multi-purpose skin perfecting powder that blurs imperfections, smooths the look of skin, controls shine, and sets makeup. So it's a setting powder, medium coverage with a matte finish, and it's a coverage product. And that's what intrigues me because I'm trying to understand powder more. I am a makeup reviewer after all. I have a couple powders, some of them on the packaging say, I have 3, I think. Is that right? 2 of them on the packaging say that they're setting powder, but they're tinted, but they're semi-sheer. They're like translucent setting powder. And one of them on the packaging says that it's finishing powder. And And it's also a colorless or like slightly color correcting. I used to have a powder like this that was like a coverage product from ColourPop. They had sent it in PR. It was a pretty good match for me and I lost it. I don't know where it is. And I actually miss it because I found that it was really useful for when I had stubborn blemishes or little spots, which I actually have one right here right now. It's like to get it really covered, it's like a healing blemish that was really bad that's taken a long time to heal. I put a little bit of concealer on there and then tap a little bit of powder and then a tiny bit more of concealer and then tap a little bit of powder. But no matter how much I do that, it sort of just, the powder just like absorbs into the skin and absorbs into the concealer and it still looks like a slightly different color from the rest of my skin. But when I had that, not CoverGirl, ColourPop, when I had that, I'm like, what's that brand called again? That brand from the 2000 teens? When I had that ColourPop powder, I would just get a little bit on the poof and press it over a spot like that and it would really blank it out. It would blank it out and blend it into my skin and it would really be imperceptible, at least on camera. So I miss it. I don't know where it is. I haven't seen it in months. I think it might truly be gone forever, especially because I just decluttered and like cleaned out everything. And now here comes NARS, which is a brand that I, again, have kind of mixed feelings about, but I think they make really good makeup. Releasing a product that promises to do the same thing with this model looking absolutely gorgeous in the shade Seafront. I mean, beautiful before and beautiful after, and you can't trust a before and after by a brand. It's all just technology, but still, if this is what they're claiming that it does, you can like see the coverage, but you can also see how skin-like and beautiful it looks. That is what I want since my ColourPop one went away. So not only that, but the lightest shade, which is called Cliff, looks really desaturated and neutral and almost olive. And I know that the lightest shade in NARS is usually okay for me, a little bit yellow, but okay. But in this case, it actually looks like they went even lighter and more neutral than Chantilly, which is the lightest shade in the concealer. So, gosh, I'm really talking myself into it over here, aren't I? The thing that makes it harder to resist than other things I've discussed today is that I have a legitimate hole in my collection that was left by that ColourPop powder that I lost. And literally today when I was doing my makeup, I was like, ugh, I wish I had a powder in it with some coverage. I'm fine without it. Here I am looking fine. And even if you can see my blemish, I don't care. But maybe if there's interest in this for review, maybe if it comes out and other people review it and it's great, maybe if I see it in store and the color really is amazing for me. This one is a little bit of a live one, We'll see. We'll report back. And finally, probably the most buzz-inducing release since my last New Makeup Hot Takes, the really weirdly named and marketed Natasha Denona Mini Pastel Palette. Like, in what world are these pastels? We've got a dark blue, a dark navy blue, a rich saturated teal, a shiny mid-toned teal, a bubblegum pink, and a color-shifting bronzy gold. In the swatches with the reflect, with like the strong bright reflect in the shiny ones, I'll give you that a couple of them have pastel bits like in the swatch. But this isn't a pastel palette. These aren't pastel colors. What are you talking about, Natasha? And again, it's supposed to be like a companion to the pastel palette that she released. And maybe it makes sense, that being the case, that these are richer and more saturated colors to supplement the extreme actual pastel quality of the pastel palette, because the pastel palette really was pastel. I mean, I guess that is the point of this. It's like everyone knows this is supposed to be a companion palette. I just feel like it's a bit of a stretch. Even if that was the thinking, even if that was how this came about, the thing that came about is quite awkward. And I would have gone about it a different way, I think, because it just doesn't make sense. I'm generally a fan of these mini palettes from Natasha Denona. I like the Natasha Denona formula, and I really like that there are all these mini palettes out there and you can get, 5 shadows and test out the formula for $25, which isn't a very, very, very low price for eyeshadow, but it is a low price for 5 Natasha Denona shades, even though they're really tiny. To me, it feels like something that would be absolutely worth it if I, had never tried these shadows, or I was really interested in just a couple colors and I didn't want to spend the amount that a whole Natasha Denona palette costs. Who knows, maybe now that I've decluttered all of my Natasha Denona palettes because of age, just to be clear, I loved them and I used them all relentlessly, but they had all gotten really quite old. But now that that's happened, maybe I'll take an interest in some of these mini palettes and I'll just have a little Natasha Denona collection of mini palettes. Not anytime soon. I'm really happy with the 5 eyeshadow palettes that I have, but I could see that happening down down the line. However, this one's a no for me because I don't really wear these blues and greens. The only shadow in here that interests me is the color shifting bronze, but even it is a little bit too kind of light and yellow leaning for me. It's an easy pass color-wise. The Pastel Plexi Glow highlighter, a translucent alabaster base enveloped in a wash of shimmering pink, golden champagne, and icy mint gel powder formula, does for some reason really make me want to touch it and buy it and own it and wear it. Like, of everything that's here, I'm like, I want it. Totally irrationally, because I have an incredible color shifting highlighter that I kept. It was from, I think, an Odin's Eye collection a while back that I kept in my declutter because I just love this kind of thing when it comes to texture. And I was like, I just have to have one thing like this that really does the most in terms of iridescent, like rainbow soap bubble cheeks. I'm glad I have it. I'm very happy when I think about it, and I'm looking forward to wearing it, I think, someday soon. But I don't need another one because I wear it so infrequently. I mean, it's really just about having the option, which isn't my favorite thing for my collection. I rarely keep something just to have the option. I try just to keep things that I know that I'm going to use a lot. This rainbow soap bubble highlighter thing, it's kind of an exception. Whenever I see one that's released, I'm like, I want it. Against all rational thought, I want it. And so having one then helps me be like, oh, but I already have one, so I definitely don't need it. And that's how I feel in this case about this one. And that is it. Those are the bits of new makeup of note that have been released since I last filmed one of these videos. And those are my hot takes about them. I hope you enjoyed watching this. It's good to be back. It's weird to be back. Happy New Year. Don't really know quite what to expect here in 2023, but I'm looking forward to finding out along with you what it is going to be like. Thank you again for being here with me. Please subscribe again if you aren't subscribed and you think you'd like to be. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.